And hello, movie lovers! Welcome to the multiverse of movie lovers unite. I actually have my good friend Jamie from the front row. Also got Tamika, and I also got the Padawan himself, Fredo, Jason, with me, and we're going to be dissecting this movie and telling you guys what we think of the new Flash movie. So, without further ado, let's go on ahead. Let's run through time and let's do this. And hey guys, how are you guys doing?
Hey.
Good. How are we doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't complain. It's storming outside, but you know what? This is also how Barry Allen got his power. So if I get struck by lightning, this is how it's going to happen.
Please. Spoiler alert.
I could be a better Flash than Ezra Miller.
Yes, you can. I think you can pull that off really well.
I definitely could have a better pose than he did.
Oh yeah, just splash some bleach and some chemicals on you and go outside.
Splash some mayonnaise, some mustard, and stuff like that, and you'll be good to go. But you know, I have to say this, okay? So going into the film, I have very low expectations of this, and even though people overhype this is the best comic book movie that I ever seen. I'm like, it's okay, but it's not like the best comic book movie that you'll ever see. I still put The Dark Knight and I also put The Avengers on my list as the two best 100%. Films. And, you know, going into it, and then some of the scenes actually took me out of it. There was actually that AI baby being thrown out the window whenever the building was when that was going on, and then Barry putting the baby inside the microwave. To me, that stuff kind of took me out of the movie. And I know I'm talking negatively first, but that was some of the things that I witnessed within the first couple of minutes of the film that took me out of it versus it being exciting. And the only exciting part was actually him running from where he's from all the way into Gotham City. I like that part because you have the light and the darkness, and you can see how the color scheme changes. That part I enjoyed. What I got after that, I didn't enjoy too much. What about for you guys?
Completely agree. That the whole first scenes, especially like I said, him with that pose was extremely corny to me. I could not stand. What kind of runner have you ever seen an Olympic runner ever stand like that? What the hell was that? Have you and then what was he doing with his arms? Like, I'm sorry. It instantly, the moment I saw that, I was just like, nope, this isn't gonna happen. This isn't gonna happen. And I just was CGI was the babies. They looked like clay.
And we're supposed to have some type of emotional attachment to those babies, like something could happen to them, and oh my god, they're falling out the window. It didn't feel realistic at all, even though I know that's supposed to be the Flash going into it, and they're showing us how he does it in his Flash time kind of thing. It still doesn't work in that kind of aspect of it, and it felt like early 2000 CGI. And at first, whenever I first thought about it, I was like, you know what, I was so enthused into the actual plot itself that I didn't notice the CGI at first. But the more that I started thinking about it, the more that I thought there was a disconnect between me and the CGI. Because I was so enthused into the plot that I didn't care about the CGI at that time, other than that part with the babies. And then after that, I was like dialed in.
Yeah.
Stunt babies.
AI babies.
So they were real. And then once the window fits,
I mean, they can't really going around.
Show the outtakes we had fun. But anyway, the babies were real before, and then when the window. But yeah, that part disturbed me. Honestly, it's like nobody's up there, so the window falls or collides or whatever, and the baby's all flying out, and the therapy doll's flying out too. And then I don't know, just the way he tried to line all the babies up like a kebab, you know, putting them all on the Yeah.
It's
Like,
the baby kebab.
yeah,
Oh my
like,
God.
string them together.
Oh my gosh.
Because he can't touch him, right? Because he'll kill him.
Yeah, and that's
Oh
the
His
thing
speed
too. Is like
force, yeah.
that's the other thing too. Is like that. I don't know if they really like address that. Like, how is he really
Breathe,
doing that?
James.
Because he was throwing the things at the baby, like the babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even the specie pan, the middle, which we don't use anymore, he was using the old-fashioned specie pan to
Yeah.
catch one of the babies. It just falls apart for me. It felt like an SNL skit for me.
Yes, that wasn't funny.
But what about for you, Jamie?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I think those scenes where he goes into that sort of, well, he's not in slow-mo, but we are, and we see that slow motion of him doing that sort of stuff. I always find that really funny. Like when he's like moves the bullet to aim at somebody or like things like that. I find those moments to just sort of, as you said, John, it takes you out of the plot, but for me in a good way. Like it's their way to bring humor or like a little bit of comedy to something that's about to be serious and not have so much comedy in it. Like if they throw in like Thor, for example, and I know I bring that up a lot, but if they crack in, funny jokes in moments where they probably shouldn't, it's not going to land too well. Whereas those moments when he goes into that slow-mo sort of thing, he can do stuff like that. He can, flick someone's head, or I can't remember all the things that he did in Justice League. But when he goes into that real slow-mo stuff, that's when you can have that comedy aspect in there. But yeah, I totally get the CGI thing. The babies look terrible, but I mean, you can't really going around, chucking real babies around. So
That's how they did it in the 70s.
Stunt babies.
Like, no, obviously you
There-
could do
clearly
it with
there are
real
stunt
babies,
babies out there.
but like, I just feel like they could have made them look at least a little better. Like I've seen Cabbage Patch dolls that looked better than some of those.
Dang.
CGI babies.
I've got some, yeah.
You can
Even
Lord.
American
recreate that
Sniper
scene.
had a baby. He had like a baby doll.
You can use Cabbage Patch to recreate the scene.
But
Throw them in the air and try to catch them all. Like Pokemon.
But I will say the one
Mm.
part that I truly found funny about that was him finally being like, all right, I gotta eat, and like just breaking into the vending machine and just eating away at everything he could find. That I did find hysterical.
me too.
Like that was
Yeah.
honestly gold.
Especially when
And,
he bypassed the baby and was like, excuse me, baby. Let me
Yeah.
get this Snickers
I need
bar.
that food.
I'll come back to you later.
I need that food.
I was like,
But I
what
do
the
have to
hell?
say this though. With the other thing that I liked was the fact that this version of Barry is very snobby and really douchey. And that's what I found him very arrogant because of the fact he doesn't realize that how great he actually has it with his powers. And that's what Bruce is also trying to teach him. It's like if something tragic didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be who I am right now. And then you meet the other Barry who has everything. And and the one that's arrogant's calling him arrogant because of the fact that he has his mother. He has everything he ever wanted. And I'm like, well, you're also arrogant to the fact too that, without your powers, you are nothing. And then when he loses it, he realizes, oh shit, I lost my powers. I don't have control over this like I used to. So it's all about him trying to learn a lesson as well and not trying to take life granted. And that's something I liked.
For me, I think it was more of he had to realize that he had to get over the like dealing with loss of his mother, because it's not only the powers that he gained, it was actually accepting that she had passed, and to not move on with life, but to figure out another way. And I thought it was really nice the way we're not going to get into it right away, but the arc of him and figuring that out himself was really nice. Like that was really good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, just agree with Jason and say 100%. That's the point of the movie for me. Acceptance of self, acceptance of moving on. And you find in any superhero movie that everybody starts that way, John, where they don't want their powers. They think their powers are cursed. Oh, sorry. And yeah, so yeah, he learns to I guess, appreciate what he has. But can I just talk about real quick that scene that you're talking about there with Affleck's Batman?
Yeah, go ahead.
That speech to me was the best thing of the entire movie. I just loved that Batman, somebody that people put shit on all the time about not being human, about hey, how we going? About not being godlike, not having powers, things like this. They put shit on him, but at the same time, he's one of the most humane to me, because the fact that he did lose his parents and he had to overcome that at a young age. And I just loved his speech when he said, the scars make us who we are today, and we can't go back in time and change things. And he said, there's nothing broken about you that needs fixing. And I freaking cried, because I was like, he needs to learn that. He's trying to fix,
and he needs that father figure, right?
And his dad's in jail, so he can't really rely on him. And when he tries to, his dad's like, you need to move on with your life, like, forget about me. And that's what he's struggling with. He can't just move on and forget. He can't do that with his mum. How can he be expected to do that with his dad? So I really like that arc, what you said, Jace.
Yeah, you hit it on the nose, especially with the difference between, like, because there is a huge difference between the accepting that what he can't do for his mother, but what he can do for his father.
Yeah.
And it was just really nice to see that. Like, the realization, like I said, of his character was really nice at the end.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Continue on. Sorry.
No. But another thing that I would have to say, though, that worked for me, besides the Bruce Wayne part, I love the speech and everything, but the mother and son dynamic for me works. And the father and son relationship to this doesn't work for me. Even whenever I've seen Justice League and stuff like that, I think it's just the whole fact that there was no lead up to that relationship. So therefore, I wasn't on that invested. I was more invested into the TV show of The Flash. And when the father gives him that long speech, I mean, I cried like a baby whenever I heard that speech between Barry and the father, where Barry tells him, I want you to be proud of me. He goes, I am proud of you, son. And he winds up hugging him and stuff like that. That, to me, had more emotional impact for me for that. But as far as the mother and son dynamic, that worked within the fifth, because there was a lead up to that. It wasn't just dumped on us. And we cared about that. That was the emotional attachment to that character, even though that we know that she's going to die. It still hit me in the feels, and even impacted my daughter as well, because she was also crying next to me whenever that happened. And I'm like, they're doing the job right. If I'm able to care about a character that I haven't seen on screen and they're adapting it to the right way, I was dialed into that scene. Especially when the father and her are dancing, then he goes out to the store because of the sauce. I thought it was really good. That part really worked for me.
Yeah. Also, this actor is standing in for the previous guy that played the dad. I think he had a contractual obligation, so there's probably that disconnect too, because he's just coming into this established movie and role, and he's trying to, but still a great actor knows
exactly
to form some type of chemistry.
Also, I feel like some kind of a director would have seen that he just wasn't like, because it, like you said, there was no like fatherly love. I feel like the most kind of affection that I felt they had was the phone call, and they weren't face to face.
Yeah, well, he's just the incarcerated version of his dad, so he played that well. But as far as affection, the most he did was kind of scrub his head a little bit, like, "Hey, what you guys doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. You just ruined the scene. Can you get out of here?" We had a touching moment. The buzzkill.
Jamie, what about you? You look like you have.
I just think that you guys are like, he's roasting him. Like, you're grilling so hard on something that doesn't matter. Like, this poor guy's stepping in for a role, and you guys are like, don't shake your head. let us cry for God's sake. But John, you're right. The emphasis was on his mum, the relationship with his mum, the loss of his mum. That's what we should be focusing on. That was the big picture. He wanted to step in and, change things to fix his dad, but he needed to, go back in time to fix it with his mum in order to realize and have that acceptance that Jason and I were just talking about. So stop roasting the guy, you guys. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit
That's why she sent him out for that can of tomato sauce.
It's not even a
he
matter
can't do nothing else. Go get the
out of here,
bitch.
It's not even a matter of roasting him. I feel like it's more of just the kid. Again, like you want to feel the connection, and like he finally Barry makes the connection, but I just feel like he doesn't. Did you honestly feel like he connected with either you or Barry, Jamie?
In what part? He was sent to go get frickin' tomatoes, for God's sake. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
he was coming into the scene established, and they were dancing, and they were like mother and son.
Right.
And he comes in like a wet blanket, like, what you guys doing? Oh, no. Get out of here. I need to get tomatoes. Like, what is he doing? This is Father's Day. God, I saw this movie on Father's Day, and he ruining it.
You guys had high hopes because of the day it fell on. I love
it.
it.
Exactly. As a father, I completely understand why that fell.
Weren't you pissed as a father? See?
Yeah, I was pissed.
I think what it was he wanted to come in with the dancing, but you guys would have just been like, "Oh, look at his moves. He can't dance. What a
At least he would have tried, Jamie. He would have just been the cheesy dad that
we can just get Kevin Bacon to come in from Footloose.
See, they should have just had Kevin Bacon do the role. See,
oh lordy, you guys. Anyway, we've spent 20 minutes talking about this.
Okay, sorry. You're right.
Okay, so there's some other stuff in this though too. I thought that the two berries worked out really well. I said that in my non-spoiler review, where I thought that the dynamic between the two berries worked in this. And I definitely like the chemistry between both berries. I thought that worked out well. As for Iris coming into the apartment and things like that, that part didn't work and didn't land for me at all. I felt very forced. We only saw her one time, and he saved her when her car was flipping over in the Justice League movie, and that was it. Oh, yeah. And then we're supposed to believe this relationship is happening. To be honest with you, I think it's just because of the fact that I've seen the Flash TV series and we were more involved with the Flash TV series and how fleshed out that was. And this is not that fleshed out. It's just like, here's Iris. She's in a car accident. Barry saves her for one thing, gives her and gets a hot dog at the end of Justice League. And then now they're having this relationship and she's a news reporter and she's trying to do that. But that's the way I see it.
Okay. I'm going on the defensive because I'm in a mood. Sorry, you guys. I love you all, but yeah, clearly I've had a bad night and I haven't had much sleep, so I'm just grumpy. But
no, you're fine. Be on the defensive because I am not the happiest with this movie. It's okay.
The point of that, John, was to show that young Barry had something to live for. He has a future, and what way do we do that other than seeing, I guess, family? That's the way to make everyone's heartstrings feel better, is that if you have a family, right? So he grows up and gets married to Iris. There's no other way to really introduce Iris other than the fact that she, was there to help, which essentially she wasn't at first. She was fishing for information. But then, I guess they just wanted to show that they had a past. They went to school together, something like that. So it's like just a quick way to introduce somebody who really we don't need to know or care about, but they're also equally important to the young Barry storyline to prove that he has like a future, because clearly in young school, like elementary school, whatever you guys call it, she was, smoking. She was a hot thing, young Barry wanted her. So yeah, I think that was just to show that there's something, his future is worth fighting for or something like that.
Don't you agree though? It was kind of really shitty of her introduction to be like fishing for information. Like,
bad.
I just like
Yeah.
I feel like, in all honesty, everything else aside, like Iris West, no matter what, there was a bigger connection other than just being friends between both of them. They always had a nice little friendship throughout the years in any iteration of their story. But like, I just think that their first interaction over the last couple of years, it hasn't been anything, and now she's just going to be like straight kind of to the point, I'm here for business pretty much, and like I'm just gonna fish. Like, I think that was a really shitty way to introduce her. Other than that, I don't have an issue with Iris, to be honest. She wasn't badly played. I just think they just pushed her on a little bit too much, but other than that, like, that's about it. The character was well done besides those two issues for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
Please
thinking.
don't come after me, Jamie.
Well, I would think in real life you would want to push people away like that. They just poke at your trauma. She's like, "Hey, how you doing? Trauma bomb, trauma bomb, trauma bomb." Oh God, I'm sorry. Let me just back up. Hey, well, yeah, let's have dinner. Like, the way it just came, it was like, oh my God. He just poked, and he had to relive all this. He's like, no comment. I guess, no, wait, really? Yes, no comment. Oh God, I'm living my trauma. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's sad.
But another thing that I can say is this, okay? So whenever he's actually upset because of the fact that with everything that's going on, he decides to go back in time.
Yeah.
And I thought the back in time stuff worked. I really liked how you show little small nuggets of his memories of seeing Henry Cavill's Superman. You see people that was involved in his life. It has this butterfly effect kind of feel to it. And then once he gets knocked out of that part, he goes, of course, when you see the two Barrys. And at first he thinks that he's the only one. So he's over there eating spaghetti. He's saying, so, Mama, how's it going? How's it been for like the last 15 years? What have you been up to?
Now, that's a weird question to ask.
Yeah.
Right.
How's school? School. Yeah.
Yes, school.
Where am I?
That was, I would say, but that whole setup of him actually getting knocked out of the Speed Force was actually really, I will say, nice. I thought that was really cool. The introduction of that character, who at that point we have no idea who it was. I will later on, when we get to it, when we reveal who it is, get into my reasons why I didn't like it, but did like it at the same time. I will explain. Okay. I will explain. I promise. I have reasons.
But that scene there, don't you
Yes,
guys all agree that was beautiful to see, all the flashbacks like that? And yeah, I just thought, like, people could talk about the CGI, but that part there, having those scenes flash in like that was crisp to me. Like, that looked really, really good, and it was a good way of showing the past, basically, like respecting those who've come before this movie and moving on from that now. So I thought that was really beautiful the way they did that.
Yeah. And again, like I said, having him, that moment he was actually knocked out of the Speed Force by whatever entity that we think that is at the time was really nice, and it was really a jarring, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Especially came out of nowhere and just started roller skating towards him. Yeah, that was pretty creepy. But yeah, I had an issue with the CGI. Okay, but I get the reasoning behind it. I guess I thought, Henry Cavill's Superman, like the first one, and when they were going, I saw Jamie go, oh my God.
Do you have to bring up my
Come back. I'm sorry. I mean, the
trauma bomb.
Trauma bomb.
Hey, you want to get some dinner?
Is that Tamika really? Look at how she opened our conversation today. Remember when Henry Cavill left you, Jamie Lee? Do you remember that?
Yeah, you remember that? Trauma bomb.
So let's have dinner. 3:00.
Yeah, let's have dinner. Just like that dude in the first movie when they were going back and doing the memories, and the memories were like elemental, and that's how I was too in Black Panther. I guess that that resonates with me more than just the CGI rubbery type aspect to it. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, okay. So my whole thing is if the scene where they were running in time, if that whole scene was just how that looked, the CGI looked in that moment, I'd have been fine. But every CGI moment looked like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there were moments where both of the berries were next to each other, and it looked really janky. Yes. Like there were scenes where, especially in one of them was wearing a costume and a few of them, and I was just like, how did you mess that up? One of them's in a costume, one of them's not in a costume. Why does one look terrible and one looks fine? You did it right in Parent Trap, and that was how many years ago? Please just do it right in this one. How much more money did you spend on this than you did in Parent Trap?
And you see, I was just too involved into the whole plot that I didn't really care about that part. Because I was just so.
John, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, I must not have like a creator's mind or a filmmaking mind because I don't notice any of that. Like as just a normal audience member, I don't look at that and go, oh my God, look at the differences there. So yeah, it's really interesting to see that, how different people watch movies, I guess. Like right. Jace noticed that and it took him out, whereas I'm like, yeah, woo, 2 berries, let's go.
Just have a good time. And
I mean, it was cool, but I noticed a little bit of it when his head was going this way and his body was going that way. And I was like, it's kind of weird, but okay.
And like he said, I mean, it is kind of a different kind of a mind going into it. Like I've always been a theater kid. I've always been behind the scenes. I was stage design, set design, all that stuff as a high school kid. So like that shit to me, like makes or breaks me in movies. Like I remember one of my biggest problems with one of my movies was one of the Step Up movies. And there was a scene in the end where they're doing this whole fucking dance thing. Listen, just hear me out for 2 seconds. It was this whole dance thing in the end. And there's like one of the kids, he's dancing in the rain, and like one scene he's got a sweatshirt on, the next scene he's got no sweatshirt on. One scene he's got a sweatshirt on, next I'm like, my young mind was just like, fix it. So yeah,
I was just
very anal with this shit.
It just it was like Justice League, like not Snyder cut. You know what I mean? It was kind of like that CGI.
Right, and Andre Muschietti is actually a fantastic director. He did the first 2 movies and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if some of it was maybe rush production, but then he was also saying, well, the reason why the CGI was off because of the fact that it was giving us a lens behind how Barry sees things. I'm like, no, it just means that you guys ran out of budget and you didn't have time to fix it. But that's how I saw it. But I was like Jamie. I was just so enthused into the actual plot that I didn't even notice anything being off between the 2 berries. I was just mostly concerned about the chemistry, how it was going to fit in, what was going to happen, and then him trying to train 2013 Barry and stuff like that too. Once he gets struck by lightning, and then once I seen where 2023 Barry gets struck by lightning and he takes the lightning rod, I'm like, yeah, he loses powers. All his powers goes over to 2013 Barry, and I like the whole entire deal where 2013 Barry does not want to listen to him at all. He's doing the phasing through the floor. He's running through the streets naked. He's doing everything that an adolescent teen would do, and it works. Yes. That part works for me.
Who is high?
100%.
Because that laugh, I heard that all throughout. I was like, oh my God, please stop.
That's how I felt.
Those ghosts alone. Those ghosts didn't do nothing to you.
That movie we don't leave alone. I think every time we do a stream, we bring up how terrible that movie is.
That was my favorite part of the movie, the ghosts.
Oh gosh. I hope you're joking, Tamika. Otherwise, removed from the stream. Oops, accident.
That is so great.
Anyway.
Uh-oh.
I never would have done it to me, guys. Never would have.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I did like the dynamic between them, the two of them. It was honestly great. And like he said, the moment when they're actually figure out that he doesn't have his powers and he's just trying to phase through the wall, and then he goes to run around and he's running around and he's actually just I lost it. I was in the freaking movie theater just dying laughing. That was a really great moment. And then just to have him phase through floors and just cause this whole massive pandemic almost in this city, just running around, freaking blowing up transformers, having his clothes get on fire, all of this, like, was absolutely great. I think that scene was beautifully done.
Yeah,
I think
and
so
it was
too.
really important. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
It was really important too, because at the start of the movie, he's ordering this coffee and, you know, everything's in fast motion and everything has to go so fast in order for him to function. And so that moment there is exactly what we've been talking about this whole stream about acceptance. He accepted he was slow. He's like, I'm slow. Like, the fuck is this? You know, so it was that acceptance, and the way that they showed it, as you said, Jason, it was beautiful. It was so funny.
Yeah, that was very well done. And then, I mean, if I was an 18-year-old kid who got superpowers like that, I would have done the exact same thing. Like, there was nothing that would have stopped me. You couldn't have told me to slow down. What? Oh, yeah.
Pretty much.
That's exactly what I would have
in the
done.
streets too. Yeah. But it just shows just the transition, you know, like we get to see Barry with his powers, like when he first had his powers. So that was good for them to put that in there, like, okay, this is how Barry reacted. Because even when he was talking to himself, he was like, yeah, I did that, but I learned you have to go this way. I learned you have to face this way, XYZ. It's like mentoring himself. So in a sense, that's psychologically deep, if you want to get that deep into just his relationship with himself, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I think the realization that I really liked was the moment where he's just finally figuring out, like, it was just, they were talking about Back to the Future, and I keep forgetting who they said it was.
Eric Shorts.
Yes.
Storks. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that moment where he's like, what are you talking about? Like, no, this, and he realizes what has happened, and he goes on this whole deep dive of like, okay, who is still around? Can I talk to anyone? Is there anyone that is like actually thinking? And he finally realizes that like the only person left is like Batman. And so he goes on the hunt for Bruce Wayne. Like that whole moment where he realizes it, and the roommates are his friends or friends from college in his timeline. Yeah. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is hysterical. And it was the funny moments were well done.
Yeah, the guy on the couch in his underwear with the Eric Stoltz tattoo and then doing the yoga pose.
It's Gary.
The guy in tidy whitey's doing a yoga pose. Leg up.
The other thing I like,
no, this tattoo, and then you're like, oh my god.
I love that moment too. With the, oh, sorry, John. Sorry.
No, sorry. Go on ahead, Jamie.
Oh, I was just gonna say the other funny part was the girl, the roommate girl, and she looks at them, and he's like, "This is my cousin. He's also Barry." And then they're waiting for that moment, and she's like, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Completely doesn't give a fuck.
No, right. I was like, she might be too stoned to even notice.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. But the other thing I liked about that scene was whenever he calls up Arthur Curry, because, hey, yeah, is Arthur Curry here? Yeah, you're talking to him. The lighthouse keeper, yeah. Because it's your wife, the Queen of Atlantis. He looks at his wife, who has rollers in her hair and her nightgown. He goes, no. Like, oh, shit. I just screwed up the whole entire universe.
Yeah, that's good.
That realization.
Kiwi guy, yeah. Yeah,
but then you go over to Batman, the Tim Burton mansion, which I fanboyed over, because now everything's in cobwebs, everything is really dark and gloomy like always, but it's even 10 times worse now. And I like that whole entire scene where we're like, okay, what kind of person is Bruce going to be after all this time? You know? So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, what kind of Batman are we getting here? And then you wind up seeing the Barrys go into the house because this is supposed to be the cousins. Remember when he goes, "We got to go to our cousin's lunch."
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I thought this was a cousin's lunch.
Yeah.
What, you thought you were going to get your ass kicked at your cousin's lunch?
Yeah.
And then you see this whole entire scene play out where they finally go down to where the kitchen is. It's all distraught. It's all, and then you see Bruce come out of the cupboards where the secret passage is, and he's throwing his sandal, he's throwing his knife, he's doing all this other stuff, and 2013 Barry's over there dodging it while the other Barry is over there getting hit with a sandal, getting hit with everything. That scene alone was hilarious.
Yes.
That old man got moved still. I was surprised. I thought he was just gonna be like, "Yeah," with a walker or something. Yeah. When he came out like the ninja moves, I was like, "Dang, Bruce still got it in his old age."
You're still killing it.
She was expecting him in a walker being like, "I'm that
Yeah,
man."
get off my damn lawn. I said
Beat
that.
down.
Yeah.
Batman.
Oh, put my teeth back in.
Oh my
gosh.
That would have been great.
Compression socks on and all.
Yeah.
And it comes out, I'm sure you are.
It smells on the walker.
Compression socks work. They're good.
But
She
yeah.
is so
I
mean.
endorse those.
No,
songs.
yeah,
Oh, God.
and I think it was really great where he finally and again another realization moment where he was just like, so you're telling me this is a timeline, and he like explains it. I mean, he explained it very well with the spaghetti, but it was also
Spaghetti.
very funny.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It's like you see, like just the way it's just like they sometimes intertwine, and certain things just can't be, certain things
Yeah.
are focal points, and certain things can't be changed, and like having to realize that certain things, in order to save the timeline, certain things can absolutely not be changed.
Right. And then he goes, "You see these little these spaghetti noodles? Yeah, those are lines, interconnecting lines to other universes. And you see this right here? Yeah. And dumps the tomato sauce. He goes, "What's that? Tomato sauce?" And then the 2013 Barry's over there eating it.
Yeah.
And he just looks at him. What are you doing? He goes, "I thought this was the cousin's lunch."
Yeah.
It was
I was
so
gonna
funny.
ask what is you guys' favorite explanation of the multiverse? Is it Marvel's or DC?
For
That's
me,
actually-
for me though, coming off of Ant-Man and seeing how Ant-Man handled it, I think that this handled it a lot better than Ant-Man.
Yeah.
For me, and I like both. I like both Marvel and DC movies. It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
It's just that I just thought that it was handled a lot better with the explanations and explaining stuff and bringing it down. And the other one, to me, it was just a little bit of a mess for me to be able to follow a little bit. What about for you guys?
I think that this, I like the way they described it. Like I said, I think the analogy they used and just the way that he's talking about fulcrum points within the timeline, they not only create a different, time where like the past is still going to be the same, but no, it's like it's a completely different reality where like everything has changed. The only thing that hasn't changed is the point that you changed yourself. Everything else can be changed, everything else can be different, nothing is guaranteed. And I think that was a really nice like way to really describe like how we can change anything. Like honestly, like it was a nice way to be like, hey, if we want to, we can change everything through this moment. And I think it was a nice way to reset their universe.
I think so too. What about for you, Jamie?
Yeah.
Pretty much just what Jay said. When comparing Marvel and DC, I don't really like to do that because it's two different things. And I don't believe, again, on the defensive, but I don't believe that Ant-Man was trying to like explain time travel. I think we were introduced to the quantum realm, sure, but I don't think that they were trying to like explain to us that. And if anybody were to, it would be Doctor Strange rather than Kang. But anyway, but I did like, as Jay said, I like the analogy with the spaghetti, and it really helped you to understand, that these things change, and this is how things can become, what did he call it? Like a hot mess or whatever, when he put all the spaghetti together. That's what happens. We create this big hot mess. So I do like the way it was explained. And again, like, I know I'm going hard on the Batman love here, but his speeches are amazing. Like that speech about self-acceptance and don't go in time, you're going to ruin things, was perfect. This one, same thing. He has accepted there's nothing I can do. Nobody cares about the Batman. I'm nothing. I'm just a guy walking around in thongs making some spaghetti, So he's accepted that. And as with Affleck's Batman at the start there, he accepted he can't go back and save his mother and father. It's just you have to move on.
Can we all just appreciate Old Man Keaton for a second? Because he was just awesome. I swear to God. To be honest, I just loved him portraying Batman again. It was awesome to see, and to see him adapt with this adapt to the new age, but also just still be the same Batman we loved from the first ones.
Especially having the old Wayne tech that we had from the 1980s.
The rollerball mouse.
Yes, it was awesome. I couldn't complain at all about that. Michael Keaton as Batman will forever be amazing.
I just wanted more of him. That's my only complaint.
That's how I feel about it as well. I wanted more of Keaton's Batman. But I also felt like whenever they're going through the Batcave and then they're trying to figure out where Superman is, because there has to be a Superman within this universe, right? So I was thinking to myself, okay, so how are they going to get Batman on board, right? So I'm thinking this on this level. And the way they did it was a little too fast. I wanted a little bit of a thing of trying to get Bruce on board before it actually happened, before he actually said, yes, I'll help you.
Yes.
But it just felt like it was a little too rushed, where it's like, I'm miserable, I'm old, I don't feel like doing anything. It's like, you know what, Barry's? I'm going to help you. And
it was the parents, weren't it, that really pushed him to help?
Yes, it was definitely the parents. And I will say it was not as bad as what's your mom's name? Oh, Martha. Oh shit, my mom's name is Martha.
True.
We can't fight. It was not as bad as that.
That's true.
It was not as bad as
shit. All right, I'll go save your mom now.
It was not as bad as that.
So cringy.
But I will say I did like the moment where he's just sitting there and he's doing all the research he can, and he just is like, listen, I know you're fucking watching. There's no reason you're not. We're down here. You know what we're doing. You've been watching this whole time. What the hell, man? And just that whole little conversation to him, I think was really nice.
I got you. What about for you, Jamie?
Yeah, I forget what the question was, but I agree with that. Yep. What was the question?
It was the Martha thing.
No,
I'm stuck on the Martha thing. I'm like, that was so cringy.
Martha. It was so bad. But it was more of just how did you feel about that?
What did you say?
How did you feel about that interaction between in that moment where he was actually calling him out for being I know you're watching and all that stuff? How did you feel about that?
I think that again, Batman in the young Barry's world, he sort of didn't really have a purpose, I guess, which is coming off from what I said before, so it sort of took him to realize, okay, this kid needs my help, and I guess an incentive to help him in order to do something, because clearly he didn't have a purpose in my eyes. He was just living in this bat cave making spaghetti. He didn't have a purpose. He didn't want to do anything or have any reason to do anything. So right. I think he needed that sort of kick or that oomph to be Batman, get nuts.
Right.
I don't know.
I love that quote when he says it, let's get nuts. I fanboyed so hard in the theater.
Say it again. I was like, rewind that. Play that back.
Want to get nuts? Want to get nuts?
Run it back.
Let's get nuts. Play it one more time.
Hey, projector guy, yeah. Let's rewind that back.
Let's rewind that whole scene. Start when they come into the mansion. Go.
I completely loved when he walked out and was just like, "I'm Batman" and all that. I loved it.
Yeah.
Me too. I
But also
fanboyed.
in the back of my mind, I'm like, you're not leaving yet, right? Like, you're going to be standing around wearing rubber for a really long time, right?
You are.
Like, you could have been like just chilling for a little bit. You didn't have to get all rubber suited up real quick.
He was ready to go. He was
Sure.
ready to get
And like
out of there.
you shaved and took off a lot of hair really quick by yourself.
It'll be funny though if like the berries just went on ahead. You know what, man? We got it where we need. Peace out. Bruce is still there with his rubber suit on, ready to make that great quote. He's like, okay, when am I supposed to say it?
Where's
Let's get
everyone?
nuts. Where's everyone? Oh, God, Batman.
Be the Christian Bale. Where's everyone? I'm ready.
Oh, Tamika, you kill me. Oh, shit.
Oh, I'm
I
glad
did-
they
I
didn't put him
definitely
in
did
this
like
movie.
But-
I'm like, no. We don't want you.
I mean, it was just, and again, just to really highlight how well of a detective Batman has been in every iteration and every version of him. I think it was great how as soon as he started helping, they were able to get the missing links that they needed. They figured out where this so-called Superman was being held and all this other stuff. And I think that was really nice. And I think that whole little plane ride with them and just like, no, you ask him. No, I don't want to ask him. You ask him. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not talking to him. Like, that was awesome.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, I definitely liked that whole entire dynamic as well. And then, of course, seeing Supergirl come out as well in Russia, and I thought that was actually a pretty cool moment to have. And then you have this whole entire thing. She had a lot more dialogue than I thought she would actually have.
Yeah.
I thought she was just going to be one. I thought she was actually going to be just standing in the background, kind of, and not really saying much. But they gave her a little bit more than I thought they would, and I liked it. But I wanted to see more dialogue and more stuff for her to do. But for the most part, they actually gave her a lot. So I was happy with the direction that they did with that.
My only issue, and this is just a funny moment for me, again, just kind of like Barry's like pose. It was like anytime she was gonna go fight someone, she got in like the Debo pose and then just was like, poof. I was just like, what the fuck?
No, that's what they all do. It's running the
Yeah. You
Yeah.
fought with your girlfriend before, Jace. What are you talking about? We all do that.
Yeah.
for you.
Come on now.
You
You
wanna
put a
fight?
Superman
You
shirt
wanna
on
fight?
and flirted with your girl. Be tripping.
Oh, God. I wanted
But-
to mention the basement just then, but I thought we better keep the green screen stuff to ourselves.
Right.
Oh,
With that being said, I do have to say this. I am experiencing a tornado warning right now. So
All right.
yeah, so I'm gonna have to cut the stream a little earlier than I expected, but we can
Very
always
good.
do a part 2 to the spoiler review and get back
Yeah.
to
Sure.
it because I want to actually do this a lot more.
Why not?
So
I was gonna say, do
we'll
we
get-
want to any final thoughts real quick on what
Yeah.
we've discussed right now and then get off of here?
Mhm.
It took me a second to register that you're actually talking about like a proper tornado. I thought that was like a Batman reference, like falling out of the sky, tornadoing. And I thought we were up to that point. I was like,
You're like,
oh no, he's really leaving.
I don't remember a tornado in the movie.
He's like,
Yeah.
when
No,
did
the
but
flash
you-
forward the
you
tornado,
know what I
and
mean?
remember, yeah.
I mean, hey, they're kind.
Oh my God.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe-
Well,
Okay, bye.
part 2.
It's
Part 2
bye.
coming soon. Part 2.
Look, guys, I'm sorry to do this.
Part
If you guys are listening, we are going to have a part 2 of the Flash spoiler review. I'm sorry that we have to go, but you know,
It's understandable, I think.
Yeah.
like, and always until next time, guys. Have a great and safe night, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yes, part 2.
Bye, John.
Part
Stay
2.
safe.
See you. Thank you, guys. I do appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
Bye.